allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Ms. Dong? Here. Mr. Taylor? Here. Ms. Hernandez?
Present.
Ms. Nunez? Present. Ms. Quintero?
Alrighty. And can I get a motion to approve the agenda with the items as submitted?
I move that we approve the agenda item as submitted.
I second the motion.
Roll call.
Ms. Dong?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Ms. Hernandez?
Yes.
Ms. Nunez?
Alrighty. And then, do we have any governing board comments, Ms. Dunn?
Well, I just want to wish everybody a good vacation week this week. We've been working really hard. You guys have been doing so much, and I see such good fruit throughout the district. A lot of really good things that I see out there coming out on TV. Your different presentations in different places. I saw the mariachis, Sunnyside and Desert View at the Casino Ballroom this weekend. So fantastic things coming up, and it takes a lot of work though. So I know that you all are ready for this weekend, and just have a good, fun, relaxing weekend. Thank you.
Mr. Taylor.
Last week I had gone over to Sunnyside High School. They had a fiesta de folclore y mariachi for Dia de los Muertos. They have it every single year, and I just want to send my kudos to Mr. Baca because it was a beautiful show. I don't know if any of you went to it, but next year I would suggest everyone go to it because it's so awesome, so beautiful. They have a lot of the younger kids from Ballet Folclórico Tapatio. They perform too, and I mean they're like this tall, so it's super cute to see. So that's it for me.
And I'll go. I was able to go to the vaccine clinic at Esperanza and just give a huge shout out to them and the partnership that we have with the county. I actually showed up for getting my vaccine card. I was getting my booster, and things were so quickly put together. Not put together. They were done so quickly, and everything was really organized. And I wasn't expecting me to be out of there in like less than 20 minutes. But so shout out to everyone there. I appreciate it. And that's it. Mr. News.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you for all of the schools that did trunk or treats and for STAR and that did all of those for our little ones and for our kids. It was really nice and a little sense of normalcy to kind of have them out there. So I really appreciated that. Thank you so much.
Alrighty. And do we have any call to the audience? No. Okay. And can I get a motion for the... Oh, sorry. Superintendent's report. We're skipping it today.
Fine, thank you, Ms. Hernandez. Just want to start off by recognizing that this is National School Psychologist Week. This week we celebrate our amazing school psychologists who are key to the social and emotional well-being of our students. Thank you for the work you do every day to ensure that our students have the support and resources to be successful. They do amazing jobs. I've had nothing but just positive feedback from the team that we currently have in place, from a lot of teachers who use them for a lot of support, particularly for students that they have in their classroom as we've gotten more into being a more inclusive environment. They play a very key role in support, not only for the students, but those adults and professionals who are helping our students as well. So thank you, all of our school psychologists. Looking forward to us meeting Dr. Williams with them here within the next week or so. I also want to congratulate who's actually in the audience today. How about that? Our 40 under 40 winner from Sunnyside School District, Miss Stephanie Ponce. She's been selected this year as a Tucson Hispanic Chamber of Commerce 40 under 40. And when you see that, you start getting old once you see that. When Mr. Baca is like 7 years out of 40 under 40, we know things are changing before our eyes. Ms. Ponce, congratulations. I believe December 7th, there's a breakfast celebration for all the honorees. We will definitely be there and celebrating Ms. Ponce's recognition. So thank you for being an outstanding young leader for us. Thank you. Also, another congratulations to Mr. Martinez. For over 20 years, Arizona Athletics has showcased excellence in education by recognizing outstanding high school teachers in Southern Arizona. This year, 9 finalists have been selected for the UA Amazing Teacher of the Year program. It used to be the Circle K teacher, remember that? They renamed it. No longer Circle K sponsor. We are excited to share that Sunnyside High School mariachi teacher and director of Mariachi Los Diablitos at Sunnyside High School, Roberto Martinez, is a finalist this year. Finalists are invited to attend a U of A basketball game where they will be recognized for their accomplishments. So congratulations, Mr. Martinez. We also have Sun students in action. Here we have 4th and 5th grade Sun students who have been exploring food insecurities and working to create action plans. Students are pictured here working in their garden at Drexel Elementary School. Thanks to the support of the community food bank, students have access to tools, plants, and seeds, in addition to their expertise to help our young learners grow. Students tend to the soil, clean the garden area, and plant items for future consumption. So thank you, Drexel, for the wonderful work and our partnership specifically with the community food bank. And then just lastly, I just want to thank our all of our veterans. Veterans Day on Thursday. I know that's a special day of celebration. So all of our veterans who are working here in our district and our community members who have served in our country, thank you for all your years of service. It's a day to recognize you. So I appreciate all your commitment to our nation and to our community. Thank you. That concludes our report.
And can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move that we approve the consent agenda as submitted.
I second the motion.
A roll call?
Ms. Dong,
Yes.
Mr. Taylor,
Aye.
Ms. Hernandez,
Aye.
Ms. Nunez.
And then we have an information item.
That's correct. I'll have Mr. Gastelum with his team, if they can come up and give us a overview of just our certain safe and orderly data for Q1 and the support systems that have been put in place and continue to evolve and iterate as we work through getting this year launched successfully.
All right. Thank you. Madam Chair, Mr. Holmes, members of the board, members of the audience, thank you for allowing us to update you on this presentation in regards to safe and orderly. I do have 2 individuals that are going to be joining me later in the presentation. I want to introduce them now. Mr. Jamal Gibbons, President and CEO of LKPNC, and along with them is Heaven Rendon, who's also prevention specialist. Coordinator. Sorry, got it wrong there. And then we also have Ms. Liz Allen, who our coordinator of our AWARE program, is going to be joining me here a little bit later in the presentation. So, definitely wanted to give you an update of safe and orderly from Q1. And so, as you recall, in the summer, we got approved. We approved the safe and orderly handbook that was revamped and redone with a strong focus on interventions. Definitely created a focus where it was a lot user-friendly to our site leaders that were using it. And so, it's important for us to make sure that we have these ongoing meetings. So our safe and order meetings happen every few weeks, and this is a great way for us to calibrate patterns and trends that are going on in our schools, in the community. And so, we definitely focus on what is the root cause of situations, right? So we focus on this piece of dialogue and discussion with students, and that's what we stress to our individuals at our sites that are working with safe and orderly issues, right? It's that conversation that you must have, because there's going to be incidents, there's going to be violations at our sites, but what is your discussion with them? How do you get down to root cause in these situations? One of the other things we do in our meetings is we provide scenarios, real life scenarios. We use some of our own school scenarios, and we group individuals, by elementary, middle, and high, and we give them time to discuss that, right? How would they come up with a resolution? How would they address that certain scenario? And so, in the end, there's more than one right answer. What we're trying to get individuals to do is talk to one another, right? Use each other as resources, use us as resources as we get through these situations, and then we definitely have presentations as well. In one of our last meetings, we had a presentation in regards to fentanyl. Fentanyl is a dangerous drug, opioid that's in the community right now, that Mr. Jamal and his team presented on. They did a fabulous job of presenting the importance of knowing what to do, knowing what the drug is. And then there was a follow-up presentation on Narcan and how you use that. And so, we use this time to make sure that we calibrate, our knowledge, that we go in there with an open mind of learning. And more importantly is what do we take back to our sites, right, in terms of messaging, adjustments, and intervention supports, right? And so we do want to focus on student support. How do we support our students? How do we change behaviors? So in this next slide here, these are just the critical facts, right? We did remote learning for over a year and a half. So our students missed some critical transitions. You have kids that did kindergarten at home are now in first or second grade. You have students that missed sixth grade are now maybe seventh or eighth graders. You have kids that are now freshmen, missed those middle school years, right? And so I'm not saying that because it's an excuse. I'm saying that because those transitions are critical. So when we returned in person this fall, there's definitely adjustments to be made, right? People had to learn to do school again. Our students had to learn routines. And, I will say right off the bat, what we're seeing is we're seeing behaviors of aggression. So when we hear individuals say, wow, we're seeing more behaviors now than we've seen in a long time, it may not be more behaviors, and you'll see in the data, but they're behaviors of aggression. They're probably more aggressive behaviors that we have to deal with and that we have to address and we have to teach, right? And so it's important that we have this response to intervention. What are intervention supports? So this first slide here is incidents by grade, right? So you have kindergarten all the way to 12th grade. And you will see that in 21, if I read this correctly, the blue is 21 and the red is 19. So 2019 quarter one versus 2021 quarter one. And you'll see the increases are in 8th and 9th grade, right? Those are those transitions. And if we were asked, can you predict where you're going to have some issues? Those have always been some of the challenging transitions for students and in those grade levels. So ironically, 10th grade is down a little bit. Usually that's a grade that discipline is up a little bit, just because they go from freshman academy with a lot of support to 10th grade with not as much support, right? And so you see that across the board. And again, I don't want to downplay just because discipline's down that that there's not issues. I mean, our issues, again, are of aggression, and you'll see here later in the presentation what I mean by that. This next slide really just gives you a breakdown. It's the same as this graph, but it's giving you the numbers. And if you see at the bottom, in 21, quarter one, we've had 896 incidents, and in 19, we had 1,124 incidents. So again, incidents are down, but you'll see here that we're dealing with different types of behaviors. So here's K5, gives you the side-by-side comparison, and you'll see there's really a big drop in 4th grade, right, in terms of incidents. Everywhere else, it's pretty even, if not a little bit lower. And these are the top violations in K5. So minor aggressive acts, defiance and disrespect, assault, minor assault, no injury, disruption or disruptive behavior, and then finding this is minor scuffle with no injury. So as mentioned before, less behavior incidents, however, again, the aggression piece. So these are the top 5 violations that are being dealt with at the K5 level. And please stop me if you have any questions. In 6th through 8th grade, you'll see that it's pretty typical trend, right? In 21, 6th grade, you have 129 incidents. In 19, we had 189, and then, you know, it's down again in 7th grade, and 8th grade, what I showed you earlier, that's up. That grade level is up in terms of incidents. And these are the top 5 violations. And I'll explain the fighting, the first one and the 4th one, which says fighting minor. But let me go over these incidents real quick. So you have fighting as the top incident in 6th through 8th, and then we have minor aggressive acts, right? Those are acts of aggression in the classroom or outside of the classroom with no injuries. You have disruption and disruptive behavior, fighting minor, no injuries, and horseplay, reckless with injuries. And those injuries, it doesn't mean it's a serious injury. It doesn't mean that they were transported or anything like that. These are kids acting reckless and getting hurt, right? The fighting and the fighting minor, in Review 360, we had to change our drop-down menu of incidents to match our new matrix. And so that took place in early September. So before, you just had fighting. So those first fights that you see, 46, that's what it was titled before, just fighting. Now it's titled by level. So you have level 3, which is minor, fighting minor, and then you have a level 2, and I'm sorry, it's level 4, and then you have a level 3 fighting, which is more severe fight, right? A fight with an injury. And so that's how they're labeled now. That's why you see it twice, but they're not duplicates. Those are total, right? Those are total incidents. And then high schools. So again, you'll see the increase in 9th grade on the left-hand side there. And then typical trend, right, in terms of from 10th to 11th to 12th grade, it tapers down. But as I mentioned earlier, 10th grade, we're a little shocked there with 10th grade. Although these kids miss freshman year, they go into 10th grade and there's less incidents because typically in the last few years, 10th grade has been a little bit higher than some of the other grade levels in terms of incidents. And these are your top 5 for high school. So you have, possession of drugs, and then you have tobacco. A lot of these incidents are vaping incidents, right? Whether it's tobacco or THC, that they're vaping, the defiance and disrespect. And again, you got the fighting and fighting minor. Those are basically the same thing. They were categorized different because of the way when the change took place. But that's 46 fights at the high school that you see there. So that's 9 through 12. And then as a district, these are the top incidents as a district, right? So I gave you from elementary to middle to high. We put together the whole district. You'll see that the top incident is minor aggressive acts, and then defiance, and then fighting, and then disruption, and then possession, drug possession. Okay, those would be your top 5 as listed here. And then I give you the percent of incidents, right, in terms of K-12. Those are the top 5. In terms of incidents by ethnicity, this slide was interesting, and I did get with Mr. Badia in terms of our Native American population and if it was disproportionate or not, right? In other words, what percent of incidents does it match the enrollment of that ethnicity group, right? And it didn't match perfectly, but it wasn't off by much. We didn't have big disproportionate of any ethnicity group. Our Native American population is about 7%, and you see that 7.2% of the incidents are in our Native American group. Our Asian there was 0.6%, African American 3.5%, our Hispanic is at 83%, and our enrollment of our Hispanic students is right, and I'm taking a guess here, I don't have it exact, but it's about 86, 87, I would guess. And then we have 45 with our with whites, and so that's 5%. And so I wanted to show you that because we do need to pay attention, to how discipline handled by different ethnicities in terms of equity and those pieces. So those are some of the discussions that we've had in our safe and orderly meetings. And then this is an interesting slide because this gives you incidents by month. And you'll see we started in August and we had about 245 incidents. And then the honeymoon was over, right? And the month of September, it reached its peak at 536. And, you know, we were busy that month. There was that whole TikTok thing going on and that's involved in this. And our fights were up during that time. We had some fights during the month of September. And it's tapered off, you know, and it's good to see that it's tapered off because our individuals at our sites that are in charge, our principals and those individuals in charge of safe and orderly, they've had to make adjustments. They've had to, you know, we use this data to discuss, to talk, to learn, and we also drill down to when are these incidents happening, right? Like what time of day are they happening? And we have, you know, some information that we shared with them in regards to that. And so let's say they are happening at lunch. You know, what adjustments do you have to make at lunch, right? Where are they happening? And where do you need supervision? Where do you need personnel in terms of addressing these situations? But I thought this slide was interesting because it does give you, you know, it does tell our story a little bit in terms of what we've been experiencing this year. So, you know, that's what I have to share with you in terms of Q1 incidents. I am going to switch it over to Ms. Liz Allen, who's going to come present the next slides. But if you have questions for me, you can ask me now or you can ask me towards the end. Yes, sir.
Yeah. You mentioned the TikTok challenges, and actually I had I'd stopped by one of the sites today and spoken to a couple teachers, and they all kind of said the same thing, that there was some interest in certain TikTok challenges lately by some of our students, and I had asked what they were. Well, one of them was assaulting teachers. That was one of the TikTok challenges. So I just kind of want to know, because I've been asked by a parent too, what the district is doing to kind of combat these challenges.
Correct.
These TikTok challenges. I mean, what we're doing to protect our teachers and our staff and our property.
Right, and that's a great question, because believe me, when we saw that pop up, that meme or whatever that picture was, we were definitely needing to address that, you know, especially if kids were going to follow through with that. So obviously, you know, the month of September was that piece of devious licks where they did a lot of vandalism, right? You know, in terms of like bathrooms, in terms of school property, and then something came out where they had like a theme for every month, and you know, fortunately, we haven't seen follow through on those types of behaviors. But what we did was, when we were experienced the whole piece in September with the vandalism, is our sites, you know, met with students, definitely met with students, and told them that you know, one is this is your home, right? This is your school. You know, you got to take care of your school, treat it like your school. And two is, we told them that we were going to send a letter home to parents to address this, because we were going to treat anything that was criminal as criminal activity and behavior, right? And so like the example you gave, if somebody did in fact, you know, assault an employee or you know, any employee, I mean, that would be a criminal situation where we would deal with it as a school, and then it would have to be dealt with in terms of a criminal investigation, right? And so what we did is we tried to get in front of it, right? We definitely we talked to our principals, we showed them, because some of them don't get it, right? Some of them don't, and when I say they don't get it, they don't get the actual picture or the meme. And so we brought it up and showed it to them. We talked to them, you know, that they needed to get in front of this, that they needed to send out some type of message to parents. And we gave them a template on what they need to send out and what important information needed to be shared. And you know, knock on wood, thankfully that it's tapered off. But we do have, you know, and if we start seeing any pattern of that, then again, it's got to be addressed immediately, you know. So,
I do have a question. On that same topic, I know that when I was in school, the networks would block off MySpace. I'm aging myself. MySpace. Do we have any? I would imagine we block. This might be a actual question
yeah,
that
it
he
is-
could answer,
yeah.
but I remember there were some websites that were blocked off on our network.
Absolutely.
Do we have that, and have we thought about doing that? Because I'm just thinking out loud. I haven't had a conversation with anyone, but
Mhm.
at what point do we say as a district, you're like the potential that you're harming someone else and our property? Like when do we draw the line? Because I do think that TikTok can be used as a tool.
Mhm.
Definitely, they're educational tool. Obviously, don't want to take that away, but if it comes to assaulting our staff, anyone, I think that's when we might want to, if we haven't already, consider something like that.
Mhm.
And this isn't a vote, this is just like an open conversation. And you could probably answer that.
What's MySpace?
That's it.
Exactly. That hurt my feelings.
I'm just kidding.
It's like AOL. You know,
Yeah, they did Hotmail.
Mrs. Hernandez, members of the board, Mr. Holmes. So what you're referring to is our content filter. We have two different content filters as kind of a double layer of protection. The primary content filter is known as GoGuardian, and it's a remote content filter, so that even when the students are accessing it from home, they're still underneath the conditions and the settings that the district applies, because it's district equipment that they're using. So just because they go home doesn't mean that they have free access to anything they want to browse on the internet. What you're also describing is kind of the eternal struggle of filtering, because it's a battle that will never be fully won, because they'll always find ways to circumvent it. And in TikTok in particular, probably the biggest challenge is that it's primarily accessed via their mobile device and not via their laptop. Now, we do have it blocked on the laptop, as we do for K-8, we have it blocked on the laptop. For 9-12, other sites that can have the same usefulness but also liability are, Facebook is another example where we've had misuse of Facebook, and it's always this give and take challenge, because Facebook is also a very vital communication tool. And as you pointed out, TikTok can also be a useful tool. So we do what we can to the greatest extent possible. We do block all the necessary sites, and it's a constant conversation with teachers and with principals. Daily, we get requests to either block or unblock, and we evaluate those. If it's educational, we certainly make every effort to unblock, because we don't want to tie teachers' hands too tightly. By the same token, we also get requests to say this site should be blocked, and if it has no educational value, typically these are gaming sites or, but TikTok is such a wide-ranging set of capabilities you can use with it. It's a difficult one to say it's entirely bad or nor entirely good. So it's just a constant vigilance on our part to watch, to adjust as necessary. But we would be mistaken to assume that we can block TikTok and assume that that's going to resolve all the behavior, because the students are going to continue to use their mobile devices, which we have no ability to control.
But they are blocked, like, on our device.
Yes, on our devices. We have a legal requirement to block inappropriate material. It's known as the Child Internet Protection Act, the CIPA Act. And so legally we require to comply with that, and I have to sign a certification that we're annually on top of that. But it is blocked, as Ms. Nunez asked, it is blocked on our content, on our devices, yes.
Besides our devices, you're the expert, I'm not, but for example, when someone's using our internet, can that be blocked?
Yes, it is blocked on our internet.
It is blocked,
Yes.
not just on our devices.
Correct.
But if they're
Okay.
using their data, then they can.
Correct, exactly.
Gotcha, yeah.
So if they're using, now we typically don't allow students to join their personal devices to our network. We've gone down that road in the past, and it just became very difficult to manage. And because we provide them with the device, they don't need an additional device, join our network. However, occasionally students do find the password from time to time and get onto it. But so if they did, it would be blocked in our network. everything across traveling through our network is blocked under the same controls. It's only on their own personal data that is where we can't control.
Gotcha, thank you. And I also just want to be clear, I understand that that's not going to stop the root of the problem. But if we, for example, there was a spike in like September or October because there was challenges on that month.
Make it hard. Yeah. And those things that we have done in the past, and we'll continue to do that. And if we see a spike and we need to dial it tighter, we certainly are going to make the adjustments as deemed necessary from time to time. So it's a balancing act. It's always a balancing act because the flip of it is obviously over-blocking and tying hands for authentic learning and research on the internet. That is also a side that we don't want to go too far in that direction either.
Yeah, I understand that because one of the recent concerns with, I can't keep up with all the platforms by the way, but with TikTok was the challenge assaulting teachers. That one was very worrisome for me and a lot of people as well. And obviously we don't have solutions for everything, but that one was really concerning.
Mm-hmm.
So things like that where they had challenges of like destroying restrooms and things of that sort, where there was like weeks of like doing it this week, and they're very coordinated. I'm not on TikTok, but like I hear it's very coordinated when they have challenges. So like Ms. Nunez said, is if we're able to try to do what we can. I know we can't stop. I'm not trying to control anyone's behavior. I know it's also a tool, but whenever we have things like that, so I appreciate it.
And we will certainly make every effort we can,
Yeah.
especially on incidents like that, to tighten up the restrictions if necessary. Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. I don't know if anyone else had any questions on that, but
I just had another one.
okay.
Did we have any reports of students assaulting any teachers due to the TikTok challenge? No?
No, not that I'm aware of, and
Okay.
nothing that came up in our data in terms of, our office would have been contacted, Mr. Powell would have been contacted, so, no, we don't. Knock on wood. Any other questions in regard to the incidents? If not, I will have Ms. Allen come up and present her piece here.
So my team is a team, hi, I'm Elizabeth Allen. I work as the coordinator for the AWARE team, and I work under Mr. Gastel. I have a team of 5 mental health professionals, 2 of which are social workers, and 3 of them are soon to be licensed, but most of them are LACs, so licensed associate counselors, which is fantastic for our district. What that means is part of our goal is to make sure that we are giving students, families, communities the resources that they need to get the mental health. If we can't provide it from our team, then we will find those resources. And we were just having a conversation today about outsourcing and why do we make sure that we connect families, because sometimes we just can't, depending on what their needs are, right? So that to say, when Mr. Gasellum said we were worried about incidences going up, for us, that means that we're actually getting our message out there. So when you see up, that means good things for us. That said, we work really closely with the school counselors, the school psychologists, and also our district social workers, because we are a team really focused on the whole learner aspect. It's really important for us if we get a kid that's referred to us to make sure if they have an individualized education plan that we have contacted their school psychologist to find out what other supports do they have and how can we support them along the way. Same with the school counselors. They have been our biggest line of communication to say, here's all the resources that have been provided to that kiddo, and how can we support above and beyond that, which is fantastic, because this is definitely based on other districts that I have worked in and other districts that I have seen. This is a value add to our district that our counselors actually get to counsel. So kudos to them. Through the Los Rantichos Center, which is across the way here, we have several things that I think are hidden gems in our world that include LPK&C. We do have an office for them, so kudos to you guys, yay, right? We have the Opportunity Center, which is the McKinney-Vento program. And then we have our case managers, social workers, and then us. And underneath it gives a description about what each one of those areas do, so it's great. Because depending on what a family needs, if we can't provide it as the AWARE Team Mental Health, then we will find somebody who can. So this data here is for the Q1 incident, or not incident, but referrals that came to us. So that meant that the school team had already done interventions based on the discipline matrix. They've gone through their school counselor. They've also contacted their school psychologist and gone through all the resources possible to say, what can we do for this family and for this student? Before they come to us, they have gone through that process, and then this is our referrals for Q1. What we noticed is that this slide is a little more important. The first, the blue is 2021, and the red is 2019. We noticed an increase in referrals to us from the 6th graders, 8th graders, and 10th graders, which made a lot of sense given the amount of incident referrals from the academic interventionists and the assistant principals to say that students needed a little more support, especially as they dealt with depression, major anxiety, a lot of suicidal thoughts that were coming across from your TikTok challenges and your Snapchats and things like that, and they didn't know how to process it. So if you look in your goodie bags that you guys have in front of you, those are some of the toys we use to help kids. And sometimes it looks like we're playing all the time, but we're really not. So there's a coloring book in there. There's a fidget spinner for you, which we encourage you to keep just on your person, not share, right? And then there's even a little toy in there that is like a clicker and it looks like a switch. You have it right there. And it's super cool because kids play with it in a way that as they're talking with us and telling us their story and processing through their grief, they're playing with it all the time, right? We do it too. We we pick out our fingernails and stuff like that. That helps them tell us their story. And then we can help them say, all right, now let's put a plan in place for you. What is your goal so that you are not having so many suicidal thoughts, so that you're not hurting yourself along the way, so that maybe in a week you have 2 depressive episodes instead of 7. So that's a win for us. We also work closely with LPKNC, and I'm going to let them talk about their programs because they too are the ones that talk about programs about marijuana, and they did the fentanyl program. They are the ones that are like that first one of how do we help kids, and then we do the deeper work with them. So the toys are yours.
I do have,
Oh,
is there any questions?
Sorry, questions.
I do have one quick question. I'm curious about the process. Apart from the process, I know you all have a lot going on, but I'm just curious, how often do you meet or collaborate or have conversations outside of the process in place to get referrals to you?
So I'm going to answer it 2 ways, and I'm hoping I answered for what you're looking for. So our team of 5 people meet twice a week.
Gotcha.
Referrals come in all the time. We meet twice a week based on caseloads of our team. We decide who should service those students and families. We have 2 mental health professionals that speak Spanish. So anyone that speaks Spanish, they service those families. Super important for us. Depending on, and when I say caseload, it depends on how many students they have that have severe anxiety, severe depression. We don't want to overload somebody so that all they have is depression. We try to spread it out evenly. We also do spread out evenly for grade levels so that it's not always one person going to one site. They typically gravitate to one site because that counselor knows them. So they'll have a higher caseload. I was thinking about a counselor in my head right now who has a higher caseload at Esperanza. We want them to be there more often because, yes, you get to be seen as a face on that campus, but also if all of the cases coming from that campus, and I'm not saying this is true, so please don't take it, is all depression, right? But then we want to put somebody else in there who can take on some more of those depression cases. And sometimes it depends on the skill set of our individuals. We have folks that are really comfortable talking about suicide and some that are not. So I don't want to put a counselor with somebody who's not comfortable talking with suicide. Same with sexual assault victims. There are some that are much more comfortable talking about sexual assault than others. So.
Thank you.
I have a question. What's like the average caseload per counselor?
Sure. So there's 20 that'll be on the caseload. And that's just kids that are seen one-on-one. That does not include cases that are seen as making sure that they get connected with outside resources. So that could be up to another 20 families. And that means that we get referred to them, and a family that needs medication management, family therapy, behavioral therapy that's coming into the school site, that all is things that we don't have the skill set yet because we don't have the resources. So we want to connect them with an outside agency and make sure that they've made it for an intake and made it for their first appointment. And if they have a behavior coach that's coming on site, do we have all of the data in or the documents in place so that that agency can come on and service that family?
I just have one last question. I know it's on a case-by-case basis, but how often do we see a student before they get referred to an agency?
That depends.
Okay.
So,
Just curious.
sure. We just had the conversation today. So if a child has, typically they get referred to an agency if they need medication management and they need a psychological evaluation. Then we will refer them out because we don't have the capacity to do all of that. If they're ones that we can take on, we will. Because families are comfortable with us. Like, hey, you come to my school, I know you, you're part of the Sunnyside community, I want to be part of you. We've actually had a couple of families recently that have reached out to outside agencies and they weren't comfortable. So they came back to us and they said, we realize we know we need to go for our medication services, but we want you, that therapist, to be their therapist. And they are, because we're not going to turn them away.
Thank you so much.
One of the things I wanted to add as well is that now that we have our Los Ranchitos Center going is we're open into the evening, right? So evening hours, we're available for families. There's teams there that are working with families into the evening as well to make it convenient for our families. And then one other piece is our wellness team meets every other week. So one of the slides here that was shown, these individuals, along with our counselors, our school psychologists, we have a team, and Ms. Sutter and Ms. Allen run that meeting. And again, it's to calibrate, kind of what's going on in our schools and the trends and that stuff. So they've done a remarkable job of collaborating and sharing these ideas on how we support our students.
Telehealth is also super important for our families because like our kids like to be on their phones, so do families. And so the blessing of a pandemic, if kids want to be in a therapy session or a family therapy session via their computer, we'll allow it. We just ask that they're in a private space and we make sure we have a private space too. And sometimes it's challenging for families to get them to understand you can't be in your car driving to your nanas. You really need to be someplace private. Even if it's in your backyard, please just make sure it's a conversation that you can have freely. So good and bad with the pandemic, but computers are a wonderful thing now. So
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to bring up Mr. Jamal Givens with LKPNC, and he's going to give you an update on some of the services they've provided our students.
Members of the board, Mr. Steve Holmes, thank you guys for allowing me to be here. I'm Jamal Givens. I am the president and CEO of LPKNC. I've been working in Sunnyside Unified School District for about 20 years now, offering prevention services. I was with Kodak Behavioral Services before. And then we started our own nonprofit in 2018, focusing on prevention and intervention services. And that has been through many members of the community to help make that come to fruition. And so with that, some of the things that we are bringing is we work on prevention and intervention, like I mentioned. And one of the things that we do is really, when you think of the upstream scenario of people maybe along a riverbank and people are jumping into the river and then they begin to go down, a lot of services like Project Aware, Kodak Behavioral Services, La Frontera, COPE, they deal with people that are primarily, in treatment, where they're going over a waterfall. What we do in prevention and intervention is we walk up the stream and we say, hey, why are people jumping in? What can we do to stop people from jumping into the stream? And then some of those things that we offer are a Thrive program. The Thrive program, and I'm proud to say, is a program, a 10-week program that was developed by a gentleman here in Arizona. His name is Mr. Ted Huntington, and we've been able to work closely with him in getting this our team trained in this particular program. And it's a 10-week program that deals primarily with empowering greater self-esteem. So we're looking at social and emotional. It does deal with some prevention of substance use and misuse. And so we're really excited about this particular program because it's also interactive. And so it gets youth involved with the facilitator and allows a conversation and discussion. One of the things that we try not to do at LPKNC is lecture at people. We try to have a dialogue and a conversation. We feel that that's important. We feel that youth voice is important, and it needs to be heard, not should, needs to be heard. And so we have those conversations with them. At Challenger, we are working with a group of students currently. There's 19 of them in that particular group. It's first period. And then at Desertville, we're working with 144 students currently. It's a 10-week program, so it'll flip over after 10 weeks, and we'll get into more classes as we continue to move forward. And we already have plans to add 2 more classes at Challenger as we end this quarter. I'm sorry, I'm used to college. So this quarter, moving into next semester, if you will. So 163 students total.
I have a quick question on that. And
Yes,
sorry,
I'm there as a speaker. I'm like, wait.
the students that are participating in the Thrive program, they're students that were referred because of their, no?
No.
Okay.
Yes, Ms. Hernandez, yes. It's a universal prevention, so we're offering this to any and everybody. So they're not necessarily identified for any particular reason.
Gotcha.
And so what we're trying to do is get them at the foundation, if you will, of let's get this out to everyone and everybody so that they can have some tools to be able to deal with maybe some challenges that may come up for them. And that's not a pun to put against Challenger.
Thank you.
Is there a reason why we specifically picked Challenger?
No. Actually, you know what it is? To be honest with you, is I have relationships with those schools and those people, and as soon as we began to roll these out, I hit the people up that I know and said, hey, we got this. Are you interested? And they were like, yes, please, let's go. And so we're trying to definitely get into all the different schools as quickly as we can. Some of the relationships I don't have that are as strong, but the ones that I do that are stronger, of course, those tend to work out a little bit better. Some people are like, wait, who are you? And I'm like, I'm Jamal. So we're definitely working on that. So no particular reason for that being first, if you will.
I think, sorry, just one
No,
comment.
please.
I think it would be really awesome if we can either include you in our conversations when the start of the school year, whenever we have big meetings when all of our staff is there. That way they do get to start recognizing you, because I do think that these programs would be able to help anyone.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. Thank you.
So whoever is inviting, if we can,
Invite-
please invite Jamal.
Yeah, he needs no invitation now, so, I do want to comment that, in our safe and orderly meetings that we have every few weeks, he's been attending those as well, him and his team. They've actually done some presentations, so they know who he is now, in terms of, but, I do want to get something that we do reach out to all of our schools, because we just don't want to target 1 or 2 schools. We want to make sure it's available to all.
Yes.
So, but I just wanted to mention that he's definitely part of the meetings we've been having with Safe and Orderly.
Definitely. And so, yeah, that particular program is for 6th through 12th grade. Please.
Yeah, I had a question. I'm sorry. Can students and families opt into these programs?
They could definitely call the school and let them know that they would like to have their student participate in that. One of the things that we're looking at is also working with Ms. Liz, offering different programs in the evening at Los Ranchitos Center. And so those are things that are in the works and being discussed if need be. But yeah, definitely they can.
Cool. Thank you.
And actually, if parents, anybody listening out there, you want to reach out to your principal. Any other questions? I'm sorry, I don't want to rush. Okay, great. The other program is the Marijuana Harmless. This was a project actually we started at Desertview maybe 3 years ago. It was a pilot program where I was working with Mr. Jesse Ortega, and we wanted to try to find out if there was a better way to deal with youth that were having issues with marijuana. And so what we do with this particular intervention, this one is an intervention, it's not prevention. They are actually, they have some type of infraction regarding substances, and particularly marijuana. and so vaping has been starting a couple of years ago. But what we do with this particular program is we work with the parent and the youth. So the youth and the parent have to come and do a one-on-one workshop with us. One of the things that we found when we were working at Desert View on this pilot program was that parents had no idea the harmful effects really of marijuana today. Most adults don't know the harmless effects of marijuana today. Marijuana back in the day, like in the 60s and 70s, is not the same as it is today. Back in the day, it was 2 to 3, 7% THC levels. Now you can get as high as 99%. So part of the reasons when we hear about youth passing out or need to be taken to the hospital is because most of them, we've even found on campuses, not only in Sunnyside School District, but other districts in which I work, finding THC cartridges, they're called carts, that are in the vape pens, that have 80%, 90% on school campuses. So parents don't understand that marijuana today is not the marijuana that they grew up with. And so we have to educate our parents that, I was just at a school earlier today, another school in the TOSD district, and the concern is, parents are sometimes dropping off their kids and they open up the door and there's this whiff of marijuana coming out of the doors. And so we have to educate our parents about this. And with this Marijuana Harmless project, it's been extremely helpful. And so we have to get referrals for this particular one, and we've had 19 students at this time. The next one is It's Your Choice. One of the things that, again, student voice is important, and we try to let people and students know, parents also, especially if they're middle school and going into high school, that their voice is important, that they need to have one. And so we talk to students about they have choices that they have to make, and they have to own those consequences. And so we sit down and talk with them about how are they processing things, and again, this is prevention now, more prevention. And so this particular one is through a referral also, and we've had 2 at this particular time. Our youth groups are going pretty well. We do have Challenger, Desert View, Sunnyside, Lawford, and Gallegos on deck. And those, it's the Youth Empowered for Success program. Some of you that have been around for a while have heard of this particular youth group and model, and so we're implementing that, and it's going extremely well, and it's continuing to grow every week as the students continue to meet. And then the fentanyl workshops are really big because it's a huge issue in our community. It's not a Sunnyside problem. It's an Arizona nationwide problem. And so they just caught, actually, the other day, some youth, there's a U of A one that occurred in October, and then there was this one 2 weeks ago where they pulled over a car on I-19, I think it was between I-10 and I-19, with 50,000 fentanyl pills that were coming into our community. And so this is something that we need to watch out for, and we need to educate our parents, staff, just anybody and everybody that will listen. And then finally, some of the other things that we've done is assemblies. We've done vaping marijuana, and that was at Desert View. We did that through 9th through 11th graders. We've had professional development, going to ABSS or the Safe and Orderly meetings, red ribbon events that just happened in October. And then healthy and unhealthy relationships is something that's been really interesting, that students have been really interested in, and trying to understand how to have a healthy relationship, not only with their peers, but even with their significant other, but even their parents. And what's the difference between healthy and unhealthy, especially with social media. One of my staff members was sharing with me that a particular individual, a student, was saying that we were talking about social media and your phone, and guys or girls wanting you to unlock that and let me see your text messages, and that's unhealthy. Anybody out there, that's unhealthy. I don't care who you are, I don't care how old you are, that is unhealthy. Trust, right? And if you don't have those trusts, then we need to talk about something else. And so that's going extremely well and really well received. And then so far we've worked with 1,802 students and 213 adults. We have some other things that are up and coming. We have suicide prevention, which is applied suicide intervention skills training that you all have supported in us rolling out to the community to get community people trained in that. And I invite you all, if you would like to participate in, that's a 2-day training. It's the Bentley model of all suicide prevention programs. Would love for any of you to participate in that. It'd be so awesome. And then we're going to continue to have our fentanyl workshops, and I think that's the other one, and then marijuana. And so we'll continue to work on those. So with that, I'll ask for questions.
I don't know if anyone else has questions.
Basically, I just want to thank your program, but also the counselor programs. All of you, when you came up here, you talked about parents and their parents, coming to the night counseling sessions. Parents, all these parents that you have involved in your sessions. I think it's really important that we not just talk to the students, but also make sure that we get as many of their parents involved as possible, many of their guardians involved as possible, because that's, I think, how we're going to start to really hit, the issues and hit the drug issues that we have, and also the issues as far as the counseling and the aggressions and the depressions and all of that, and making sure that we involve the whole family and not just the individuals. So I'm really glad to see that in all of your programs, it seems like you're really pushing that to get not just the students involved, but all of their community, all of their families and their relatives and everybody involved in this. So I really appreciate all of you that have come up here and talked about that.
You're welcome. If I may, one of the things we've been working on, we've been discussing, is creating a town hall, and one of the things we were working on, and we had it ready to go right before the pandemic hit, was we were going to have a town hall in regards to vaping, right? And but we can broaden that. I mean, vaping's still an issue, as you saw by the data there. But we're having this discussion, and we want to hold it at one of our high schools, obviously when it's appropriate, and we can have gathering of a crowd. And if not, then we're going to have to get creative and do it virtually. But we've been in discussions with our Safe and Orderly group and with Mr. Gibbons here, and so that's something that we're going to be planning to have, if hopefully early in the second semester.
And maybe doing a combination for those parents that are still uneasy about coming in, but then you have other parents who really want to come in and feel more comfortable when they're in there. Maybe having a duel where that same night, you have it taped, people can see and ask questions over, on chat and stuff like that. But I think it's a great idea. We've done one like that in the past on marijuana, and it worked out really well. And I think this will also is needed. I mean, there's so much of that stuff going on right now that we can't, drag our feet. We got to make sure we get it done and get it out to the community. Also want to let everybody know that if you haven't had the assist, that suicide training, it is excellent. I had it one time all of my staff where I work take it, and myself also. And, it is amazing how much more you learn of what to say and what to do. Even if it's not your immediate family, but, you always run into these situations. Somebody calls you, they're having these issues with their children or with the parents. So it's always good to get yourself a little bit of that kind of training on what to say and how to say it and what to do, and how to be more confident when you're talking to people that might have difficulties that are going on. So yeah, if you haven't had that training, jump into one of the trainings. They've got short trainings, they got long trainings, and whatever can fit everybody's time frame, it'd be a good idea to do. So thank you. I mean, these things that you guys have been talking about today are incredible. I see it going the way that we've been talking about since last year, as far as the disciplinary issues and what can we do. And we've gotten more issues than we thought we were going to have that are a little bit very different, and yet we've been able to jump on it right away with the model that we put together last year. So thank you for all the hard work to make sure that what we visioned last year, we got all excited about, wasn't put to the side just because of all these new things that are starting to come, but rather we're incorporated and making sure that our vision is still going in the right direction.
Mr. Taylor, do you have any?
Yeah. First of all, thank you all for putting this presentation together. I really want to continue to emphasize and stress the importance of engaging our families in these issues in our students' lives, right? Because you can't adjust or treat with the a young child without the support of their entire family. It's very hard to do that. So I think that's awesome that parent and family engagement is being pushed as much as it is. I was also really pleased to see the amount of engagement in the fentanyl workshops, because as you had mentioned, this is a huge issue, nationwide, particularly here in Arizona. I recently had a friend who, didn't quite see the severity of what had happened, but landed himself in the hospital because, bad drugs, and this is a huge issue. Well, anyway, it was horrifying, to learn this and find out and realize that this could have taken a much more worse turn. And I don't know if any of you know how your body reacts to fentanyl, especially high doses of fentanyl. It's very, very ugly, and it's very nasty, and it's awful. So I'm very pleased to see that a lot of parents and students are engaged in this conversation and in this topic, and I hope we can continue to keep the dialogue going and expand on that. So thank you.
Just quick question. How large of a staff do you have, or is it just like?
How do you get to all the
It used to be-
schools?
It used to be that way, but now, no, we've grown. We have, you're like, oh my God.
It's a lot of work. So.
Right, no, there's 4 of us currently, and we have 3 other positions open.
Oh,
We
okay.
just hired another individual person that'll be starting in 2 weeks. They gotta get their 2-week notice. And so if you guys know of anybody, hey,
That would be good.
hey, send them our way, definitely.
Okay, that was my only question, and I wanted to say, working with youth similar to these, I find it so important in interventions, like they said, bringing in families and making them have to be a part of it. I think it's, research-based just shows that helps, interventions succeed. So thank you for all of that. And really the healthy relationships and unhealthy relationships, I think that's so important, especially for our middle school, high school kids, like the Snapchat, all these things. I have kids coming to my office like, Miss, what is this? What do I do about this? Is this normal? So I think that's so important. So thank you.
Thank you.
And I'll just echo, we've been looking forward to, I know you've been doing the work already, but everyone working together, we've been really looking forward to seeing what everyone's up to and how you're serving our students. And I just want to say I appreciate everyone, because there's intervention and prevention, like you mentioned. A lot of these issues go back to what we grew up with, what we thought was normal. And you're coming in, and you and your team and everyone involved, you're coming in and helping our communities unlearn some of the things we thought were normal. So I appreciate it, and this is really exciting to me. And hopefully you find more staff. But seriously, thank you so much for everything.
Cool. No, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and can I have a motion to request for executive session?
I'd like to move that we approve the governing board members recess into executive session for discussion of personnel pursuant to ARS 38-431.03A1.
I second the motion.
Roll call.
Ms. Strong?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Aye.
Ms. Hernandez?
Aye.
Ms. Nunez?
Hi.
I know.
You're not bad.
I actually had to think about it. I'm like, did I have my screen or Facebook?
Woodward be appointed the Executive Assistant to the Governing Board for the 2021-2022 school year. I'd like to move that we appoint Irma Woodward to the position of Executive Assistant to the Governing Board.
I second the motion.
Ms. Dawn?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Aye.
Ms. Hernandez?
Aye.
Ms. Nunez?
And do we have any suggestions for future agenda items? Okay. And do we have any unfinished business? I don't think so. Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'd like to move that we adjourn.
I second the motion.
Roll call?
Ms. Dawn?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Aye.
Ms. Hernandez?
Aye.
Ms. Nunez?
Don't forget your bag of goodies.